This is my 19-year-old 2007 Lexus IS-350, and I'm gonna attempt to completely transform this car to look from its second generation today to this fourth generation. In the late 2000s, while the Germans were busy over-engineering their unreliable cars, Lexus quietly dropped this, the IS-350. A 306 horsepower missile with a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated bulletproof V6 engine, which would easily take you from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 5.5 seconds. With rear-wheel drive, precise handling, and grip that makes the BMW 3 Series feel slightly confused, the IS-350 carved corners with the confidence of something far more expensive. And that's the point. While its rivals charged a premium for the same drama, the Lexus IS-350 delivered pure speed for thousands less. It wasn't just better value, it was a quiet revolution. So what will it take for a person like me with zero experience to bring the vision to life to convert the second generation to a fourth generation? Previously, I have done some good work on this car, such as the OEM style CarPlay screen and the complete suede interior to fix my sticky dash problem. And now it's time to do a complete transformation. In the coming few weeks, I will be taking part in the Driven Car Show powered by eBay Motors, and I have exactly 2 weeks before the main event. The game plan I have decided on this car is to completely transform this car from the Lexus IS to the Lexus IS, and I have tons of parts ready for this car. And you also probably have seen these parts laying around in the background in a couple of my other projects. And that's because I actually ordered these parts almost 8 months ago. I got these parts ordered from Mighty Tech Store, and it almost took me 4 weeks to land at my doorstep after the order process. And I'll put the link in the descriptions if you guys are interested. Do check them out if you want to convert your car from 2IS to 4IS. These parts are also made from ABS material with high durability and strength, and they do a really good job in shipping the bumper kits unfolded, so you don't have to deal with any deformed bumper. Inside the box, I checked and verified all the materials and everything tallied to my order, and the quality was absolutely phenomenal. All of the parts you see in this video as well as the upcoming videos will be down in the description, so if you guys are interested, do check it out. Make sure to only buy certified ABS parts for your cars and also use my code BillFixCars to get an instant discount on your order. As I mentioned, these parts have been here for almost 8 months now, and I just never got a chance to install them on my 2007 Lexus IS-350, and the upcoming Driven Auto Show is the perfect opportunity for me to showcase my car. I already prepared a list of things that I need to do in this car, and I'm gonna go over them one by one and make sure it is done before the schedule. As you can see, there are so many things on this checklist, and some of them are already completed or in work in progress if you have seen my other previous videos, such as the Alcantara carbon steering wheel that is already done. I also already have installed charcoal black Italian dashboard and door panels to get rid of my sticky Lexus dashboard, and I'm gonna go ahead and continue to finish the job properly when I get time. Apart from that, I already have Axleback exhaust system installed. If you have seen my previous videos, you know how it sounds. And I also have installed the Touring 18-inch wheels with low profile tires, and on these wheels I need to go ahead and put some work for repainting and getting them refinished. So in today's episode, I'm gonna start with the headlight conversion first, and after the headlights are converted and connected properly, I can go ahead and do the bumper conversion. So without further ado, let's get started. I noticed a large chunk of my repeat viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribing to my channel really helps me out, and it keeps me motivated to create more engaging content. And I try to read each and every comment, so if you guys have any feedback, do let me know and I'll be reading it. Please do make sure to subscribe, and I really appreciate your support. Alright guys, so I've had these headlights for about 5 months, and I've never even got a chance to test fit on the car and test out the electrical functioning of the car. So these are the headlights, and these are from the 2024 IS-500, and these should look absolutely phenomenal. They have a turn signal light that should also have a programming inside. It has its own DRL, and it has its own LED cob lights that should completely transform the looks of the car. You can see from the reflection here, it looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I love the factory lights, but when you talk about these IS500 lights, these are absolutely phenomenal. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove these headlights first and then test fit these as well as try the electricals out, and then we'll see the result. So here's the process for removing the headlights. You have to first remove the engine covers that is right there. And after that, you also have to remove the bumpers, and the bumper is a bit tricky on this model of the car. To remove the bumper, you have to first remove the bolts which were placed here. And you can also go ahead and remove these clips if you want to remove the grille. There is a nut that goes here that is connected to the radiator support here. So you need to go ahead and remove that 10mm bolt too. All the bolts you see here would be either 10mm bolts or these plastic bumper clips. Then you can come to your side of the bumper and remove these clips. So 1 and 2, these clips. Once you remove the clips, you can come down here, and underneath the car, you will find one bolt and one clip. So as you can see, one 10mm bolt and one bumper clip. Once you remove that, you will then have to slide the fender liner a bit rightward, because there is another bolt right here. So that goes straight up here behind this bumper. With the fender, there's a bolt that goes straight here. You'll just have to remove that by getting some access, a bit of access from the fender liner. And after you remove that, underneath the car, you will see these grooves here. Inside these grooves, you will see those 10mm bolts that you have to remove. That is holding the bumper with the under engine cover. And these grooves will be there all over underneath the car. And similarly, repeat the same process on the passenger side. Alright, the bumper is out now. So now I can go ahead and remove these headlights. I just have to remove 2 bolts from here. Just the 2 bolts. This one can stay. This stays with the fender. On the top, I just have to remove this one clip right here. The other bolt to remove will be right here. And then I can go ahead and disconnect the wires and take the headlight out. And after you're done removing all the screws and bumpers, you will have the main wiring harness here that connects all the wire. One single port here. You're gonna have to push this clip all the way back because it has the lining here, as you can see. Over the words here, it has a passage through here that lets this come out. As you can see right under my finger here, the passage here allows this pillar right here to slide through, and it comes out. Once you take off your bolts, the headlight should come out right easy. Alright, so here is the headlight for the driver's side, and underneath it you have the harness that goes directly to the connector there. And we also have this additional clip right here that we have to connect and put it in the fuse box right there. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and install the light properly. And once it's in place, I'm going to go ahead and find the right fuse where I can place this one in. Alright, the headlights look amazing. It is sitting properly and there is no other gaps that needs to be filled. So now I can go ahead and start bolting it on. This red wire here has to go and sit in the fuse box here. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and install the other headlight too. And then I'll tuck in the wire inside underneath these panels and zip tie it so that it's not seen anymore. And then I can look into the fuse box. Alright, both the headlights are installed and it looks absolutely perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out the tappet fuse that they had given us for the DRLs. So the daytime running lights should be tapped in to 10 ampere fuses here. And to remove the fuse box, I can just pry open from here and then simply pull it out. There you go. And if you are just like me who has no idea of what is going on underneath the fuse box, you can refer to the box right here. It gives you a diagram of where is what. For example, the first ones here, which is the 10, 10, 15. It is the same one right here, as you can see, the 10, 10, and 15, and so on. So this empty one is actually for the cars that come with the headlight washers. So I don't have it. My car never came with the headlight washers. So this one is empty. I can go ahead and run an all-time running fuse. And for that, I have to go ahead and connect the battery and use a multimeter. For the fuse, what you want to do is you want to connect it with your ACC. Here you have your 10 ampere ACC, which is generally your IG2. And you basically want to do that because whenever you turn on your car, this power should be turned on so that your DRLs is always on. Basically, that's what you want to do. So now you can go ahead and remove your Lexus fuse remover. So this is a tool provided by Lexus to remove any of your fuses. So I can go ahead and remove this one right here and just pull it out. So here it is. I'm gonna keep it here safely. Plug this one in and it should sit in just like that. And as you can see, it sat properly. And now I just have to route the wires outwards. I can just put it over here, tuck a little bit of wire in, so I can use this to tuck the wire in here. So before I lose this, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back right here. Now I think I need to cut a hole right here. It's gonna lock the wire here and the wire might get cut. So what I'm gonna do is just cut a slight pathway just by this locking mechanism here so that the wire can come out easily. There is a small cutout here, so I'm just gonna use the same cutout and move forward just so that the red wire can come through. All right, so just like that, I was able to cut a small hole right here, as you can see, this hole, and that also continues right here. And this will make it easy for the wire to pass through. So I'm gonna try putting that in right now. All right, as you can see, the wire is snug and the box is also sealed. It doesn't look like it's gonna move. And I'm gonna tuck the red wire in a way that this red wire is not visible at all. Before I move further, I actually forgot to take out these plastic covers right here from the OEM headlight. So the same on the passenger side. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these. So there are just 3 screws right here. So 1, 2, and 3. And similarly, the one on the other side too. Just remove them and put them back on the new ones. All right, so the headlight brackets are now in and that's positioned right here. And I can connect the battery and test the lights out. All right, so now all the plugs and wires have been checked. Everything is done. The fuse for the DRL is also connected. I just went ahead and connected the battery right now. So now let's go ahead and test the headlights. As you can see, when I unlock the car, there is a very nice amber light for the hazards. So now I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the car to test all the headlights. The startup animation starts with a sliding LED display, followed by this pretty blue illumination, then it strengthens the bright white LED DRL. The DRLs also dim at night, and the low beam lights are also super nice. High beams are also very bright, as well as lights up really good. The turn signals have an animation too, but as you can see, I need to install an LED relay under the steering wheel fuse box because whenever you install an LED turn signal light, the car automatically thinks there's a fused bulb because of a mismatch of the voltage. But this should be an easy fix. This is the new front bumper kit and its design is from the 2024 IS-500 and it looks absolutely stunning. Check out the size of this massive grille. The grille ratio itself is almost half of this new bumper, and compare this to the old factory grille, which is very simple. It comes in one large ABS piece of bumper and adding to that is the front grille along with its LED fog lights, but installing the new bumper is way complicated than it looks. As you can see, it has its own LED fog light trim, its massive Predator inspired grille. I call it Predator because I guess you can tell it looks very similar to a Predator, and it is gonna completely change the looks of this 18-year-old car. Just to compare the dimensions, it has almost similar height with the factory bumper and the dimensions of the new bumper is almost the same with the factory bumper, and this means I don't have to worry about any kind of misalignment or fitment issues. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling this bumper and then test fit on the car. All right, before I go any further, I just wanted to show some important things. So this bracket that you saw here, it actually sits right on top here. So you see this tab right here, it slides right in and sits on top this way. And so the bumper has to be curved exactly this way. So, I mean, you get the idea. So it sits on top. So when I was installing the grille, I just realized that these tabs are actually not for design. This is just to support the molding when it's in shipping. So I can go ahead and remove this tab right here. So this one, this one, as well as the other one right there. So I need to cut them off with a sharp knife or a sharp blade very carefully and gently so that it leaves a very nice straight cut over here. so that the grill can go and sit easily inside snug. And something you also need to know is the grill sits on it and uses a lot of screws that goes behind it. The screws don't come inside the whole shipping package, so you might as well go and order it from Amazon or your local hardware store. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some of the spare screws I have at home just to have it test fit and sit properly. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off and try to test fit the grill and the bumper top tab. All right, so for the grill here, I went ahead and got myself a set of lathe screws, and these comes in 100 pieces pack. These are the 8.5 sizes. So now I should be able to completely finish my installation for the grill here. Alright, so here's the update now. As you saw in the time lapse, it's a very tight fit. So these are the screws that I'm putting in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. It goes right here. As you can see, the grill is not perfectly put in yet. So what I'm trying to do is divide and conquer. Because it is ABS material, I'm not worried about the bumper. I'm only worried about the grill because that's the most delicate part here. I'm going to finish all the screws one by one, and then everything should fall in shape just like this whole side. Alright guys, check this out. The bumper is starting to come together as a whole piece. The fitment is absolutely perfect. Check out the gaps. It looks amazing. It was a bit of struggle just to install the grill on the bumper, but once you start dividing and conquering from one screw to the next, you will find that it is much easier for you to install the grill rather than trying to fit the whole grill at once and putting all the screws together. So I would definitely recommend following my method, which is start putting in the screws and one screw to the next. You will find that it is way easier for you now to follow the screws back and put the grill in. So these are the fog light trims that were provided with the bumper. So it should be a pretty simple fit and it should go directly in these tabs. There are these things behind it that needs to be locked with the blue tabs right here as provided here. So now I'm going to try to put them in. I haven't tried that before. So let's try to put the fog light trim in. Alright, the fog light trim fits properly, but I forgot to put in these LED fog lights. So they should sit right in. I just have to put two screws here, one at the bottom. And it should look something like this. So this is a white LED fog light that basically replaces the OEM fog lights. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the screw in, and then I can put the fog light trim back. Alright, the fog lights are now in. I went ahead and put two screws on the top and the bottom, and it looks like this right now, which is absolutely perfect. So now I can go ahead and permanently put the fog lights in. Alright, the fog lights are installed correctly now, and these are the tabs provided inside those, and this is the wire that connects. They provided me with this wire that connects both of these fog lights. After that, the bumper will be good to go for a test fit on the car. And this is what the fog lights look like from the front, and slowly and steadily the bumper is coming all together. Some things I still have to put back is the emblem here that I have, as well as some of the other trims that goes behind, such as these ones. For example, if you want to go ahead and install front sensor, or if your car came with front sensors, you can relocate them here, or just install the tabs that were given so that you can cover it up. And these are for the headlight washers. So if your car came with headlight washers, you can either use that or you can use this to cover it up. My car did not have a factory headlight washer, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this tab here to cover this up. And the only other thing is this housing. First, the housing sits right here, and on top of that the sensor can go in. You can directly put in this one right here, sits snug. Put in 3 screws, and you can go ahead and plug this cover in so that it's all complete. Alright, so the bumper is now coming in good. Everything looks perfect. Headlight washer tabs are all put in. Fog lights look good. And here's the tab they provided for the front sensors, if you have one, or if you have aftermarket front sensors. Feel free to go ahead and install it here. And if your province or state requires you to have a front number plate, you can go ahead and put the front number plate. That is also very thoughtfully provided in the kit. So I'm not going to go install this one because my province does not require front number plate. So the only thing missing right now is the logo. And here is the logo they provided in the kit. Look at the size difference. So this is my OEM and this is the new one. And as you can see, the OEM is very much physical in terms of the logo. But the new one is just a straight glass, which should look amazing. So now I'm going to go ahead and install this. So this should fit in directly. And it has only one screw right here. Alright, check this out. The bumper is gonna look so cool and the logo has fit amazing. I'm a bit hesitant to remove the sticker from the logo right there, and probably after I install the bumper on the car, I can finally go ahead and do the inauguration by removing the sticker from the logo. Alright, I tried to test fit the bumper here, but I noticed that this cover right here touches it, and as you can see, the bumper is straight right here, and this one goes from here and takes a curve like the OEM bumper right there. So that bumper has a curve, but this bumper has a straight line. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a quick trim. So from here to here as a diagonal, and if it requires more trimming, I'll go ahead and do that. But for now, this is on the way, so it should be cut. Alright, I came to a very weird situation right here. So the bumper is starting to look good, but the only problem is rebar cover here. You know, it also absorbs some kind of impact here. But this foam here is coming on the way and it hits the grill right there. As you can see, it is this foam that is not allowing me to go any forward. So I might have to get rid of that. Basically, I have to open it up. I saw a couple of videos online and everybody else had to also remove this foam bar. It is something that is just on the way. The rebar is just right there, but the foam was an additional support to the OEM bumper here. So usually this foam is part of the OEM bumper, as you can see. So this empty space right here is where the foam usually sits, and nothing to worry here because the rebar is always there. The foam is just an additional protection from the bumper right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the foam and then try to install the bumper again. I actually came up with another problem. So here is this tab right here. As you can see, it has one placeholder, a hole, and another placeholder, and it's the same distance from here to here and here to here. But on the OEM bumper, as you can see, it's kind of the opposite. So we have one placeholder, another tab, which is like a bolt holder or something. So what happened is the headlight bracket here. So this is where it is supposed to go. As you can see, here is one placeholder right here, and the other placeholder is right here because that is conforming to the older OEM model. So I have to go ahead and cut off this extra space here. So this space, as you can see here, is something that is pushing the bumper outwards and it is not making it sit flush. So although the placeholder may or may not be able to hold it here because I'm going to cut it right through over there. So at least the bumper will go ahead and sit flush. So the same thing I have done over here. As you can see, I have deleted the top portion here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and file it a bit so it's all straight and flush, and after that it should be easy to sit right here. So this is what I was talking about. As you can see, this is the tab right here, so it goes straight, but then there is a small flush that is making it hard for the tab to go in, and because of this up and down position here on this tab, it becomes a bit difficult for this to slide in. So I'm gonna have to file that in from the top and bottom so that I can slide that through and also cut it from the front. All right, so when I cut the top piece from here, it still did not fit. It wouldn't budge because of that small dip in this position here. So I had to cut this piece off, and this looks completely flush right now. This is gonna be a useless spot right here because there is no tab here, as you can see. I already went ahead and test fit this one and it fits completely flush with the headlight. So I'm going to repeat the same process on the other end, where I'm going to keep this one. But as you can see, this dip right here is what was causing the blockage of this whole tab to go inside. So I'm going to have to cut this off right here and keep this position empty. And coming on the side here on the fender liner, as you can see, the original fender liner holes were here, but the bumper fender liner holes are a few inches on top. I think that is for the 2009 and above models, where they actually reshaped and changed a couple of things on the front bumper as well as the fender liner. So because mine is a 2007 fender liner, so I have to go ahead and drill some holes here that connects the new bumper with the OEM fender liner here. And this way, the fender liner and the bumper will stay strong. I also have to connect the LED fog lights with this wire that they provided to us. I can even splice this wire directly with the fog lights here, either just connect it here or put it here and see which one is secure, so that whenever the fog lights are active, these lights should also be active. So now I'm going to go ahead and fix these wires, and that should take me less than 10 seconds. Here's what I did with the fog lights. So there you go. As you can see, those are the fog light connections. The wire goes from here and I just zip tied it there. I'm going to remove that zip tie once I'm finished installing the bumper properly. And here's the other fog light right here. It goes and connects to the main OEM fog light connector, and I just put the positive wire in and the negative wire in, and the factory plug shows plus and minus on the mouth of each connector, and I just put the wires in tightly and made sure that it's not gonna snap on. I secured it with some good electric tape so that water doesn't go in or wires don't come out, and this should be a nice secure place. And before I put the bumper in properly, I'll make sure that I zip tie the extended bunch of wire right here somewhere securely so that it doesn't keep moving around for whatever reason. All right, so things are looking good right now, but only the problem is the exception of these weird gaps right here. So this side is fine right now, but there's a gap right here. So what I need to do is basically heat it up and try to release some pressure off the bumper. So because the grill is also very tight fit and it's pushing everything on this end as well as that end, because this is a solid grill, the ABS plastic bumper right here is under so much immense pressure that it is kind of trying to deform whatever shape I'm trying to put it back into. So I'm gonna heat the whole thing so that it naturally cools down and takes the form of the bumper here. Alright, bumper fitment is looking okay and all the sides are good. And now I can look under the car to see where the tabs meet. So as you can see, these holes don't line up. The hole is right here and this hole is right here. So I need to heat this up. And while doing that, I need to be very careful that I don't break this joint here. So just working around this bend, I need to heat it up so that I can pull it as much as possible so I can securely tighten it with this hole right here. And similarly, on the other end right here on the front, a little bit of heat will also make sure that I can line up these holes and connect this together. So this is how I connected it. So this is just a bumper clip and I heated this up and I kind of straightened it somewhat front, but I couldn't use the OEM hole right here because it is too far for this even after I straightened this up. So what I did is I tried to straighten it up enough and create another hole right here. And going towards the passenger side, this is exactly what it looked like before without heating it. So I'm going to heat this side up and straighten it so I can go ahead and clip it up and fix it properly. All right, so I went ahead and connected the fender liner with the bumper right here. I took the other straight tabs right here and I cut them into half. So this is one half of it. And instead, there's this front splash guard right here. And there's also a huge tab right here. So it was making more sense to connect these tabs together so that I can have the structural integrity on this end. It doesn't move per se, but I just want to go ahead and connect these two because in the OEM bumper, this fender liner was actually bolted on to the OEM bumper here, and there is no extra tab that goes on from here to bolt on to this fender liner. So I just don't want to have any kind of wobbling. I'll just go ahead and bolt this tab. All right, the bumper is looking good now. The gaps are all filled in. Once the bumper is all in place and you can go ahead and start heating it up, just softening up the material enough that it forms the shape of the bumper here. So once it's tight from here, start heating it up this way on an L shape, just by the angle, and start pushing it this way. Heating is something that will save you a bunch of time adjusting and readjusting, and by heating I was able to put it all in shape. Although this all fit in perfectly, there is a small gap right here. This probably will go away from heating. I just have to press it up a bit and this will look flush. The only other thing missing right now is, as you notice, there is no rubber here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the OEM weatherproofing rubber and try to retrofit it on the new bumper here. All right, so this is the rubber that I was talking about, and to remove this you have to remove the 2 clips from here and 2 from the other side. Remove this chrome material here, then you will get access to these small black clips in order for this weatherproof seal to come out. Alright, so I put the rubber seal in here, and as you can see, these 2 clips right here are lined up. There's one hole here, the one is far apart. So I'm gonna have to create 2 different holes here and here, and even this one is a bit misaligned. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill in some new holes, and when the hood closes, there should be no gap seen. This is the center point here, so this one connects properly, the edges connect properly, which is how it's locked in. But as you can see here, this is misaligned. This is also way misaligned, and there are 2 here. So as you can see, this one and this one are very far away. So what I'm going to do is take my cordless drill and try to make a hole like this one. So this was the original hole in the bumper given for the seal, which was not coming in place. And this is also a newly drilled hole that I just placed, and it completely fits. As you can see, this side sits flush and this side is still pending to be worked on. And similarly, I'll follow through and finish the passenger side too. And then I can close the bonnet to test the fitment. Alright, now the seals look good. It sits flush with the bumper here, so now I can put the hood back and see how it looks. I think it looks good. There is no more space if you can see from here, and the weather sealing makes the hood and the bumper looks flush, so there should be no issue whatsoever. There you go guys, this completes the front end conversion of this 2007 Lexus IS-350. Alright, looking at the checklist for this build, the front headlight as well as the front bumper facelift kit is completely done. So now let's go ahead and look at the rear taillight conversion. And today for the rear taillights, I have this brand new set of 2024 IS-500 style rear taillight kit for the Lexus 2IS to 4IS conversion. And this is gonna be my first time installing this. Inside the package, I also have the installation manual here, so it shouldn't be very difficult to understand, and after installation, the rear taillights should look something like this. I installed a backup camera earlier, and if you have one too, there is nothing to worry about, because the idea is that this rear taillight conversion will have a long strip light connecting the trunk lights, but ideally, the thickness of the strip light should not interfere with the trajectory of my rear view camera. It may only cover a certain insignificant top portion of the camera, which will not have any effect on the functionality while in the reverse mode, and we will test this later on. To install the rear taillights, I'm going to remove this set of factory taillights from the trunk, and then also remove the brake lights, which is very straightforward. While the trunk lights might turn out to be a bit difficult because I'm going to have to remove the carpet trim from the trunk. Plenty of tasks to complete, so let's get started. In order to remove these taillights, I have to remove these screws. I can either use a screwdriver or an 8mm, and once I remove this, I can remove this piece right here and this clip over here, and I can just move this cover and disconnect the cabling from inside. Okay, so now we have access to the rear side of this taillight, so we can go ahead and remove these 3 bolts. Also, before that, we can disconnect the plug from here. Just turn it counterclockwise this way. Similarly, remove this one like this. Now I can go ahead and remove the carpet trim from here in order for me to remove this section of the tail light. Alright, so the carpet trim is out, and you don't technically need to remove the whole piece out, but I just wanted to show you clearly what we're working with. So this is one of the harness you have to disconnect from here. So by pressing on the clip here, you can remove this and then disconnect
this clip from right here on the top. And then here you will have 2 bolts that you have to remove in order to remove this whole set. And there are going to be 2 bolts here that you have to remove, and this should come out easily. Alright, the trunk light is also out, and the same way I'll repeat on this side. Alright, the tail light and the trunk lights are out, and now I can go ahead and unbox this new series of taillights. And they were nice enough to send me an instruction manual right here. I'm just gonna go through this and start assembling this one by one. This is the main wiring harness that has to go on either side. So this is one set and this is another set. Basically this should be routed in here inside this, and that goes from here. I will have to remove this plastic trim from the trunk lid and route the wire through here, and it should come and stick in right here. So this will be the connecting wire that connects basically the animation for this taillight here and this one. So let me first go ahead and route this wire on this end and the other wire on this end. I can then start fitting on the other separate parts and finally end up with the long part. The wires are now navigated in through the plastic string of these arms. You can either remove the whole thing or you can do the same way I did on this one. You can just make a slight slit on the side of here and slide the wire through it and lock it in so that the wire is hidden away, and this comes out from here. And now I can go ahead and start installing the separate parts so that it's easier for me to go ahead and install the final big piece. So let's do this one first. So this one would probably be this. So this harness should go and retrofit with the original wire here, and this small black one should go ahead and fit with the small one right here, because that's the one that connects that small piece with the long trim on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these 4 bolts from here. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. We will not be using this again because this will just go in and sit directly, but we will be using these 3 bolts. And one of the reasons why I like the product from Mighty Tech Store is because they usually supply products which are ABS rated, and they always go through rigorous quality testing, and that is why I always trust their products. And before I put in the light, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this harness for the original bulb, and this will not be used anymore. So now I can go ahead and start putting the 2024 lights in. Now initially it might not seem like a snug fit in, and that is because of the foam behind it. But once I start bolting in the nuts, it will start fitting in and it will be back to shape. Alright, the light has now sat properly. And behind the lights, I went ahead and loosely tightened these nuts right here. Once I start tightening these without putting too much pressure, the light will start sitting in. And before that, I want to go ahead and connect these wires. The small black wire goes and connects here. As long as you find the right orientation, you should be good to go. There you go. And the white wire will go ahead and connect to this directly, just like that. And now I can go ahead and tighten these screws so that the light sets in properly. Alright, so the light is now installed, and as you can see, there is no more gap. The screws made sure that it is tightened, and now let's see how it looks like. There you go. And this is actually the first time I'm seeing it myself, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process on this end so that it looks from this to this. Alright, both the tail lights are now installed, so now I'm going to go ahead and install the big one. First, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this. Obviously, I don't want any dirt. And the idea is that the light should come over and stick right over here. Once I start placing it over here, because of the plastic shape of it, it may or may not sit directly, but I'm going to have to slowly and steadily put the bolts in and start tightening it one by one on each side. And after that, I can directly connect each of those wires and then cover it up with the carpet trim. And before I put it in, I have to go ahead and remove these bolts. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4th one is this one right here. And there's also one right here. Once I remove that, I can easily put that back in. I have a 2007 model, and when I was installing the tail light, I found out the shape of my tail light housing actually has this bracket right here, which comes straight, and then there's a small indentation and then goes straight. But this is actually generically designed for the 2009 plus models, which is 2009, 10, 11, and 12, which has their taillights straight up from here, which means I might have to think about cutting this off or maybe even bending this with a plier. And same thing on the opposite side too. So right here, as you can see, the same thing, I need to also bend or maybe even cut, and also spray some black primer so it doesn't rust. And as you can see, here is the tail light, and this goes completely straight. There is no space for a bracket to go in right here, so which means this should be a straight path. And that is exactly what is also shown in the manual right here. As you can see, this model of the Lexus has this trunk light, which is completely in a perfectly oval shape as compared to this one that I have here. So to tackle this issue, what I'm trying to do is I want to get rid of this part right here. So I created a long indented line with my sharp knife here, and this indented line here will help me separate this bend here. And I'm going to go ahead and use my long plier, hold on to this and try to bend it along this straight line this way. So as you can see, now it is nicely bent, and I just have to continue that in a way and it doesn't come on the way of my light housing, and that is how you do it. So I just bent this one in, so the material is literally just bent inwards, and this material is also bent inwards. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit one side of the light first, just to see if it goes inside or not. If it does successfully, I'm gonna repeat the same process on the other end. All right, it seems like that trick did it, and as you can see, now it's sit completely flush inside, and these screws are also going through the OEM holes. I just have to wiggle it a bit, and I don't have to worry about it right now. First, I have to go ahead and fix on the other side, and then finally I can go ahead and start putting the nuts on these screws. This side is also done now. As you can see, it is all complete straight. So I went ahead and masked the whole surface around the light housing here. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray some sandable primer. So this sandable primer will help me stay away from rust and keep the trunk body protected. There you go. I just sprayed the sandable primer here, and it looks absolutely good. Now I'm gonna wait for a couple of minutes so that this sandable primer dries completely. And once it's all matte, like here on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and fit the lighting in and start connecting the wire. All right, I've test fit this one here, and I've put some lock nuts right here. I'm gonna slowly start putting them in. I'm not gonna fully tighten this one. I'm gonna do it very slowly, some threading here, some threading on the other side. And once the gap starts to look completely flush, that's when I will remove all these bolts and put in the OEM ones, because that has the rubber covering on top of it. This part does not get covered under the carpet. The carpet only covers from here to the whole thing here, but this part is the naked part. The chrome bolts are fine too, but I like the OEM one, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that one. Alright, the lights are now fit in perfectly. It looks absolutely perfect. I went ahead and put the OEM bolts here, and the same thing on the other end. Now I'm gonna go ahead and connect this white big plug with this right here, and this plug with the small plug right here. And after that, finally, I can go ahead and tuck these adapters in. I'm thinking maybe one here and one here. I can stick these adapters with the double-sided tape provided already, and finally finish off by closing all the carpet and putting in all the clips and screws. And just like that, it is now stuck in here. So I stuck one of the adapters here and the other one right beside it, and I've zip tied it so that it's neat and tidy. And the same thing on the other side too. Don't mind this one. This is from the rear camera installation that I did earlier, and there's another video for that. Now I can go ahead and close this off with the carpet trip and put all the clips back wherever I took it from and complete the inner side of it. And the only final step remaining would be to peel out this double-side tape from this long tail, and then we can go ahead and see how it looks. Alright, I've put all the trims back into position, and so now moment of truth. There you go. Look at that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Finally, I can go ahead and turn on the car and see what the brake lights do. I'm just gonna put the camera here and go ahead and turn on the car. And here's the look from the inside when we put the car in reverse. The camera really doesn't block everything here. There is this one small line of the rear lights here, which is the new extended long tail light, but the whole reversing camera is completely fine and I can see and navigate throughout.
Alright, I am super happy with the results. The lights turned out absolutely fabulous and the startup animation is phenomenal. Alright, it is a new day and the car looks absolutely phenomenal from the front. So in today's agenda, I have the wheels and tires and I've kept them in storage for a while since winter, and now it's time for me to start cleaning up the wheels and see where I need to put some repair work. As you can see, there are many scratches and scuffs throughout the outer side of the rim. So first I'm going to smoothen these abnormalities out, and after that I'm going to prep it to give it a fresh jet black paint job, and the objective here is to make the wheels look as good as new. To start the wheel restoration process, I will give these wheels a quick wash, and after scrubbing them with some soapy water, I can clearly see where I need to put my attention to repair. As you can see, some of these wheels need little to no repair, while the others need way more work time. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding these as gently as possible, and the objective here is to get a consistent wheel form. And once I'm done cleaning and scuffing these wheels, I'm gonna clean them off with some alcohol wipe or rubbing compound so that I can go ahead and start priming them up. And the final step would be to apply some fresh new paint and top them up with some clear coat. Alright, I just gave them a quick wash without scrubbing or anything, and the wheels look almost clean now. So now I have enough visibility to see what kind of scuffing I need to do in order to repair these. I got myself this assorted wheel brush and flap wheel set, so I'm gonna go ahead and start using them to see if this works. I'm gonna use the 60 grit first to see the effect of it, and it should just hook up to my cordless grill, and I'm gonna try to slowly see if I can sand these off from here. The idea is not to go deep, but I wanna have a very soft scuffing so that these scratches gets nicely sanded with the circumference of the rim. And as always, safety first, make sure you have your eye protection and wear a face mask.
As you can see, it is starting to now look better. So this is almost starting to become smoothened out. So I started from here, I went all the way, and this is almost starting to smoothen out. I just have to put more attention here. So it used to look like this before. I'm gonna have to continue my way around from here to make it look smooth. As you can see, it will be much smoother, and then the new paint will cover up the minor remaining scuffs. Rims are now looking good. As you can see, sides are all scuffed up and nice and smooth. So now it will be easier for me to go ahead and paint them. I'm gonna go and repeat the same process on all the other 4 wheels, and then I can finally finish this with a few coats of primer and gloss black paint, and then finalize it with some clear coat. Now I can go ahead and give these wheels a quick wash. I'm just gonna use my soapy water and spray all over. I'm gonna also use the rough side of the sponge, because while I'm cleaning it, I also wanna make sure I scuff up the old paint so that when I apply a new paint, it sticks to the surface here. I may only apply a bit of black sanding primer on this surface here, wherever there is bare metal. So I'm just gonna spray some soapy water this way, make sure the rims are nice and clean. And once I'm done cleaning the whole rim, I'm gonna pressure wash it so that all the brake powder, debris and grease is all gone away. After you're done cleaning with the sponge, go ahead and also use 1000 grit sandpaper and give it a quick sand before you give it a final pressure wash so that your tire looks nice and scuffed like this, and it will be easy for the new paint to stick to. Alright, the wheels look absolutely dried up and they're all nice and scuffed. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe them off with a static wipe from scratches happen and make sure it's all degreased before I go ahead and apply some primer. Alright, so I placed all the 4 wheels next to each other and took a large masking sheet, and I went ahead and cut a hole just like this one and tucked the remaining of the sheet on the circumference just like this. So I didn't need any tape on the circumference, it's all tucked in. Using one of these vinyl trimming tool, and I just went ahead and tucked it in just like that, and it's nice and tight all around the surface so that there will be no problems during the painting process. So once I'm done tucking this one in too, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe the whole thing with a degreaser. I can then start coating the surface with black sandable primer, followed by a couple of layers of base coat, and secure it with some clear coat. Alright, masking is now complete, so I can go ahead and use my static wipe to clean the surface of the rim, just like this. And it will make sure that all the debris, grease, and oil is all released before I apply any kind of paint. And this will ensure the paint quality. And also don't forget to mask these little guys.
Alright, all the wheels are now completely masked and clean, so now I can go ahead and apply some primer. I'm going to focus on applying the primer on the outside of the rims, and that will allow the new paint to stick to the bare metal here. And I'm going to repeat the same process on all the 4 wheels. And after a couple of layers of this black primer, I can then start applying a few layers of the base coat. I'm going to start by shaking the aerosol can for a minute, and after it's shaken well, I can then reduce the spray output angle by just turning the knob at the top of the nozzle so that I can get a smaller spray area than the regular spray output. The smaller area will look something like this, and this will help me narrow my work area on the outside of the rims. As you can see, the quality of paint really matters when we try to DIY a paint job at home. And when we talk about quality paint, there is no other paint supplier I can think of better than Scratches Happen. You may have previously also seen me use Scratches Happen products on my previous Honda CR-V salvage rebuild, and the results were outstanding. In today's episode, I'm going to use an aerosol complete paint kit by Scratches Happen. The process is very simple. You check your VIN and the paint code mentioned on your VIN plate. Then go to Scratches Happen website and input your car details. Their website has all the relevant information and the suggested paint kit for your DIY job, starting from chips or minor scratches to a complete paint kit for the perfect finish. Scratches Happen guarantees color match, and in case you have difficulty matching your metallic shade for whatever reason, you can always reach out to their customer service and get help almost immediately. In the complete paint kit by Scratches Happen, you will get primer, base coat, clear coat, masking tape, test cards, wet and dry sanding paper, tack cloth, painter's gloves, polish, as well as static wipes. Which means for your DIY paint job, you only have to put an order with Scratches Happen and they will take care of all the supplies. Scratches Happen has served over 1 million satisfied customers across US and Canada, and they take pride in their quality of paint. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your order using the code BuildFixCars. Huge thanks to Scratches Happen for sponsoring to this episode. Now let's test the color match. Alright, all the rims are now primed very good, so now I can grab my 1500 grit sandpaper and gently dry sand the rims. And that is because the primer is currently in a rough state, and before we start painting any base coat, we want to make sure that the primer is all smoothened out. So just take your 1500 grit and start gently sanding it. And I'm going to make sure that I don't apply too much pressure on the edges, otherwise it's going to remove all the material such as the primer and the paint. So I'm just going to dry sand as smoothly as possible just to get it all cleared up and smoothened down. And as you can see, the primed part is a very rough surface, and as I move my fingers on the right over the sanded portion, it's gonna be way smoother. Alright, the wheels are now sanded completely, so I'm gonna go ahead and use a lint-free tack cloth to wipe off excess dust, and it should go away with just a few wipes. Alright, the wheels looks nice and clean, and all the dust is removed. So now I can go ahead and use this jet black base coat paint for the wheels, and this is gonna be the sample color as you can see on its cap, and I'm really excited to see what the paint result is gonna look like. So let's get started with the first light base coat, followed by 2 to 3 medium to heavy layers of base coat. And I'm gonna wait for 30 minutes between each coat. Before I can start applying the paint, I need to shake the aerosol can for about a minute or two. And the way I'm gonna do it is by first applying the paint on the circumference of the rim very clearly. And after that, I will go straight on a zigzag manner this way. And this will make sure that all the small edges and areas of the rims are covered properly. Alright, the base coat looks good so far, and once the base coat dries up, I can then top it up with 2 to 3 coats of medium to heavy layers of clear coat. Check this out, the wheels looks brand new and I definitely love the new gloss jet black on these 18-inch wheels. I am super happy with the results and they're gonna completely change the look of my build. These wheels used to look like this before and now it turned out way better than I imagined. Alright, it is a new day and previously I installed the rear sequential taillights and it looks absolutely stunning. But the rear end looks very incomplete, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this aggressive ducktail spoiler and this should help me make the rear end more aggressive. And I will also complement the spoiler with a shark fin diffuser. But before that, let's unpack the spoiler and test the fitment. This is also my first time seeing the product and the construction seems very good and it should sit right here. Alright, check this out. The spoiler looks good on the car right now and see the differences here. And there's a small gap here, but I haven't removed the sticker tape yet. I put double-sided tape underneath here on the upper end and also under the lower end. And I can now go ahead and remove the sticker and I'll press it on this position for a couple of seconds so that the newly removed sticker can properly stick to the trunk. And as you can see, there is no more gap. The rear is starting to look more and more aggressive. The only thing missing right now is the logo. I'm gonna put the logo later on after I complete the paint work for the trunk. Now I'm gonna go ahead and install the diffuser. Alright, so here is the new diffuser. It comes with its own brake lights. But before that, check out my new wheel color. The new jet black paint looks stunning. I just can't wait to see them on the car. These wheels are definitely gonna change the look of this car. Alright, check this out. This looks phenomenal. I can't wait to see this on the car. And here is the LED light that goes here. And this should definitely complement the looks of the diffuser. I'm gonna go ahead and try to test fit this one now. Looks something like this. They have already scuffed up the surface here, so I should be able to apply my double-side 3M tape here. And on the bottom here, I'm gonna go ahead and put some screws in so that I fit it properly with the bumper and keep the diffuser steady. I might have to end up heating up here and here just to get it a curved shape, just like the bumper here. I'm gonna put on some screws under the car from here and here, which will not be seen from outside. I'm gonna use black screws. In order for this LED light to be fit here snug, I'm going to use the double-side sticker tape here. I'm going to drill a hole here so that I can pass these wires and also the wire housing to ensure I fit this properly. Alright, I went ahead and drilled a hole here so I can now pass through the wire and try to fit this through. Alright, as you can see, it sits properly and here's the back side of it. I'm going to go ahead and first fit the diffuser, and once I'm satisfied with the location and positioning of it, I can then start putting some screws in. Alright, check this out. The diffuser is installed. I haven't installed it permanently, but this is just an adjustment and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Check out the difference now. The diffuser is definitely very aggressive and it makes the car look very mean from the back, which is very nice to have. Also, this brake light or fog light looks absolutely gorgeous. The rear looks absolutely phenomenal. I noticed that the spoiler and the diffuser was coming off from the 3M double-sided tape, and after some digging I found out that I need to put some adhesion promoter. So this is the LLPT adhesion promoter. I got it off Amazon. I'm gonna put the link in the description. It works like a charm. So what I did is I first put a layer of adhesion promoter first on the surface of the trunk or of the bumper where I'm supposed to put these additional trims on. So what happens is this adhesion promoter helps the 3M sticker to bond with the surface and it helps you to stick it almost permanently, almost to an extent that the paint may strip off but not the product. So which is exactly what I want. I want the product to almost permanently bond to the surface of my trunk here, so I didn't have to go and screw anything right here. Apart from that, I also went ahead and put this screw right here. This is screwed through the trunk piece for here, and I strategically placed it in a leftward offset, and that's because when I put in the logo right here, this screw is going to be exactly behind the logo right here. So when I put in double-sided tape here, I'm going to put some adhesion promoter and I'm going to put this right here. So after I scuff the spoiler and apply some primer, I will color match the spoiler with the car, and after that I'm going to go ahead and polish the whole car and put the logo. I also went ahead and did exactly the same thing with the adhesion promoter. As you can see here underneath it, I hid some screws, and these are black screws that are supposed to be flushed with the body right here with the diffuser. You will hardly ever notice any screws anywhere, and that's because I put the screws inwards towards here. So these are the locations that I found are not really visible from outside. for the normal eyes. I actually don't want to paint the diffuser. I like how the diffuser has a naturally matte finish to it, and it looks really aggressive. And if you see from the side, the shark fins on the diffuser looks absolutely phenomenal. And I'm really happy how it looks aggressive. And the only other thing to notice here is the brake light. So this has 3 wires with it. I went ahead and I did the same thing. I put adhesion promoter in the back, and I put 3M double-sided tape, and I put this on. I put some masking tape on top so it sticks flush and it doesn't come out. I'm gonna also go ahead and seal this area with some black silicone because I don't want any kind of moisture or water to run down here and damage the double-sided tape. So what I'm gonna do is seal this area right here, the whole thing, and do the same thing right here. So the silicone will be flush from here. I'm gonna put a tape on the surface here as well as a tape on the surface here. The silicone will be very minute, but it's gonna cover up and seal the whole trim so that water, moisture, and wind doesn't go through these surfaces and blow these parts away. And this is the silicone sealant kit I got from Amazon. I'm gonna put a link in the description. This is something very useful for DIY projects. There you go, my tool is now installed. And before I apply anything, I'm gonna start taping the bond between the diffuser and the bumper so I don't have any excess flowing sealant. Alright, the sealant is now in, and as you can see, the silicone has now been applied properly. And from the further away, it doesn't even look like there is something there. But if you go very close, you can see that there is indeed some kind of bond between the diffuser and the bumper right here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the sealant on the spoiler too. I still haven't wired in the brake light. The brake light has 3 wires, 1 ground and 2 programmed. I'm gonna go ahead and find a 12-volt connection from one of the dim lights. So when I turn on the orange lights, one of these lights turn up. So I'm gonna find out which one that is. So the first step I will do is now go ahead and slightly lower the bumper. So there are 2 12mm tabs here. So one is right here and the other is right here. So I'm gonna have to open this cover, remove the tab, and there's gonna be another bolt on the inside right here and the other right here. So once you remove this and this one, there's just gonna be one plastic clip that's directed upwards, this yellow clip. So you just put downwards and it should come out easily. The bumper will be easily removable, and I don't need to remove it completely. I just need to give enough space so I can route the wire in from here and put it through here and take it out. Alright, the rear bumper is now loosened up. So I am gonna look for a spot where I can put my wire through and bring the wire in from underneath here. And on the body panel, I found this sealed rubber right here. So I'm gonna use this piece here to slightly move it in and push the wires off the brake light from here, and it should come out this way. So once I take it out, I'm just gonna pull it out and this will stay sealed. Once I take my wire out, I'm gonna remove this carpet from here and find the wiring harness for this light. Alright, I brought the wire through from under here. Now I want to route my wire through this rubber seal right here. So what I did is I taped my wire to an Allen key. So this way I can push it through from here. Once the wire is out, I can then splice it with the tail light. Just like this, the wire is through and it is out from here underneath. So now I can separate the carpet here and find out which wire I need to tap into to get my brake lights working. Alright, so for the wiring, I have here with me 3 wires, the black, red and yellow. And remember, this wire is from the diffuser light right here. So the black wire in the center is for the ground that I'm going to match with the black wire right here. I'm going to match the red wire, which is the live or the power wire, to the red wire right here. So what I want the diffuser light to do is whenever the tail light is on, I want it to turn on. But during the daytime, when the tail light is off, I want it to be off too. Behind the carpet here, just above the plug, you will see there are a bunch of wires going. So as you can see, this is the diffuser wire, and the black wire right here is connected to the black wire. And what I did is I also connected the red wire to the red wire, as you can see. And the next step I did is I connected the yellow wire from the diffuser to the white wire of the aftermarket taillights. So the rightmost black wire is the ground, leftmost red wire is the live or hot wire, and the top wire here
should be the one for the power or the always on light. Alright, so it appears that the diffuser light is working. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some brakes just to see if this light starts flashing again or not. Whenever I apply brakes, I don't want these lights to dance around. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the brakes and check. Alright, great. The light doesn't dance and the wiring configuration is good. So whenever I turn on the car or whenever the lights turn on by itself, this light will do a little bit of animation as well as the diffuser one, which I can live with. I think this actually makes more sense because the longer 4IS tail light will do some animation. I guess the diffuser light flashing also kind of complements the two as an animation. Alright guys, so far so good. If you have a heat shrink, it's much better. But for now, I'm gonna close this up with some electrical tape.
Alright, check this out. I'm very excited to complete the car in less than a week time from now, and the ducktail spoiler as well as the aggressive diffuser looks absolutely phenomenal. I am super happy with the results, and the rear end of this 2007 Lexus is now fully transformed. This is what it used to look like before we started in this episode, and now it looks like this. Alright, things are starting to look good overall, and I'm happy with the work I have done so far. However, check the factory height of the car on factory wheels, and these wheels are definitely not gonna be on the car. And as you can tell, the height is very undesirable, and obviously in the back, the OEM offset is not just something that I wanna have on the car. So I'm gonna finally put the newly painted jet black wheels from the previous episodes, and along with that, I'm gonna go ahead and also install some max speeding rods performance coilovers. Inside the package, here is an instruction sheet for these coilovers, and along with that, you will also get an Allen key as well as 2 coilover adjusting arms. I'm gonna keep them aside for later. The instruction sheet gives you a pretty good step-by-step instruction on how to install these. This is my first time experience with max speeding rods, and I can already tell you they have done a really good job by setting up the preload before they ship it out to you. But if you want to go ahead and make sure if the preload is all the same, you can take a measuring tape and measure the distance of the lightly compressed length of each spring and set them to a uniform length. And to do this, you can use the adjusting arm they provided in the kit, and I can just lock it on here and rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise as per my requirement, and that will make sure that the preload is set equally on all of the springs. Once you are sure with your preload, you can go ahead and permanently lock the preload using the smaller locking nut which is below the larger spring plate. The big plate right here is to adjust your preload, and the one below that is for locking the position of your adjusted preload. Once you have set your preload, you can forget about these 2 locking nuts as we will not be adjusting them at any point. The only other thing you want to look at is the lowermost locking nut, and that is for your ride height. So you can go ahead and loosen this up for now, and as you can see, this is loosened up. And initially, before installing the coilover, you can set up your ride height by rotating the housing right here, and after you're done setting up your ride height, just lock this up on this end using one of the other spanners from your kit. So just to recap, this is the big plate on the top, and the one below is the locking plate. So you can use this to rotate up or down in order to get your coilovers moving. So the idea is we want to be able to move the whole piston inside like this. As you can see, it's moving. Since the top is stationary and the bottom is stationary, you will be rotating the center piece only, which is the black part with the thread here. And this will turn and bring this part closer or further away, just like a nut and a bolt. So that's how you adjust your ride height. I'm going to show you later on how to adjust the height after you install them on the car. So since the preload is complete now, I am happy with all the distances between the springs. So now I can go ahead and start removing the OEM struts and then install these one by one.
Alright, the coilovers are now set up, so I'm going to go ahead and first measure the height the car stands right now. So on the front, from the ground, it shows that I am currently sitting at approximately 27 inches high. My aim would be to get it approximately as close to 25 or 25 and a half. That means I need to drop the height about 2 inches down. And on the rear end, if I measure from the bottom right here, it is currently at 26 and a half inches. So I need to drop it down to approximately 24 and a half inches. That means I need to drop it by 2 inches also on the rear side. So that will be my aim for now. And this will give me a good estimate of how much I need to have a size difference between these max speeding rod coilovers versus the OEM struts. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the front strut first and then compare it with the front ones here. So this round plate right here is the front, and the triangle plate here is the rear one. The wheels are now removed. So now I can go ahead and first remove the brake line bracket from here. And after that, I can go ahead and loosen this pin from here and then loosen this nut from here. This should be a 17mm nut, I guess. And after I loosen this up, I can then remove this nut right here. This should be a 19 or maybe 17. And on the other side, the same thing should be right here. So this is the counterpart. I'm gonna have to remove this nut from here by holding on the other side. As well, I'm gonna have to remove this nut too for the link cage right here so that I can get access and loosen this lower arm right here. So let's get started and start removing things one by one. All right, so I removed this one. And I also went ahead and loosened this one up. It took me a while, but I used an impact gun just to remove the nut from here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove this ball joint. I used a 17mm to remove this nut from here. So now I'm using this ball joint remover, and this basically locks up here. And I'm gonna rotate this nut here, which will press the ball joint nut upwards this way. I'm just gonna use a spanner just to rotate this, and this should come out easily. Alright, as you saw, the ball joint just popped off. I went ahead and zip tied this arm right here just to hold it steady with the upper control arm. And now I have enough clearance. But before that, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen all the bolts and remove all the bolts from here. Once I remove this bolt from here, it will be easy for the strut to just come out. And I can just take it out and put the new one in. Alright, the driver's side of the front OEM strut is out now. And here is the side-by-side comparison between the OEM versus the new aftermarket max speeding rods. So I lined them up on the top right here, almost approximately the same height. And the difference between them is approximately 4 inches, which is too low. So I'm gonna go ahead and increase the height of this one to reach until 2 inches because that's how much I wanna lower it down. And I can always go back and adjust the height whenever I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and increase the height 2 more inches. All right, so the way to do it is by loosening this lock nut up. Once it's loosened up, I can then simply rotate this. As you can see, from the center to the center there, that is approximately 2 inches. Now I can go ahead and tighten this up. All right, so the driver's side is now adjusted. The height difference between this is approximately 2 inches now. So now I'm gonna go ahead and repeat the same on the passenger side front end, and that's gonna enable me to have exactly the same height on the driver's side as well as the passenger side. All right, the heights are now adjusted for both the front ends. I'm gonna go ahead and now install this on the driver's side. Alright, so here are some of the things I did in the time lapse. I went ahead and I tightened these nuts here, and I haven't set up the damper to the clicks yet. I'm gonna do that later on. So let me show you what's happening in the back here. So I'm using this jack actually to lift up this side of the axle here upwards so that I can match the height of this right here, as you can see. So this is where I need my bushing to be. And as soon as I reach my height, I'm gonna use this one to lock it up from the other side. So once I lift up my jack a bit, this locking nut should be easily going in, and then I will lock it up. And I also went ahead and loosened up this lock nut here. Once the lock nut is in and I know the perfect position of this, I can just go ahead and lock this up. Alright, as you remember, the OEM suspension struts had a holder for the ABS sensor cable, and until now I had it zip tied just to hold it in place. And I reached out to Max Speeding Rods customer service, and as soon as I reported this problem, they sent out to me a set of brackets. So this is what they look like. It is a custom bracket that they probably manufactured. Looks very good. It has a nice silicone pad inside it to securely put it on top of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the zip tie, and this should be an easy fix. Alright, this is what it looks like right now. As you can see, it doesn't move. It's really steady. This, to be honest, is a great solution for an OEM bracket substitute. It's made of aluminum alloy and it doesn't rust, so you don't have to worry about any kind of corrosion, and it uses the OEM hardware. So you just have to put it in and your ABS sensor will be taken care of. Alright, check this out. So this is the height right now. As you can see, if you compare this height is way lower, and I have approximately 2 finger space. And if I compare this from down, it is approximately 25 inches, from the ground, which is exactly where I wanted it. Now, I don't know if I actually like the height here or I want to go a bit lower because there is so much room underneath. So that's the beauty of having aftermarket coilovers. I think I can go a bit lower without harming my space on any of these top edges or even disturbing my turning angles. And something to note is I don't want to make any more height decisions before I go for a test drive. So once I go for a test drive, I will know for sure where I stand in terms of the actual ride height, because it does take a couple of drives just to settle in for the suspension. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up all the bolts for the lug nuts as well as the ones on the top here. I'm going to go ahead and set up my dampening to the furthest clockwise. So basically, if you can hear the clicks. So this is where I maxed out. This would be the softest or the most street configuration. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up all the bolts and nuts here and repeat the same process on the passenger side. Here's a comparison between the driver side right now. The wheels looks good, and let's go on the passenger side and see. And here's the look from the passenger side. I actually noticed that the tires I put on were on the other orientation, so I went ahead and I changed it back to the actual orientation. And I went ahead and also installed the coilover on the passenger side. And as you can see, this is sitting too low, and I think I like how it looks. However, it's kind of not practical to have it this way because of all the potholes, bumps and whatnot. Even if I set up the damper to the stiffest position, currently this is sitting from the ground at 24 inches and it just practically doesn't make sense. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and set this up to 25 inches from the ground to match the other side too. And that way I will have enough clearance for turning and any potholes. But if it doesn't look good, I can always remove the wheels and adjust the ride height. All right, I went ahead and lowered the front suspension to approximately ½ an inch down. So currently now it is sitting at almost 24.5 inches right here. And I'm gonna repeat the same thing on the other side, the passenger side. So now going to the rear side, the rear wheel is sitting exactly at 26.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the same height of the front to about 24.5 inches, as you can see. And here is how much I want it to be. That will make the car look absolutely dropped, as well as it's going to be easier in terms of functionality. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing the rear wheels and find out how to replace these struts. Alright, so front coilovers are done, and now I'm in the rear passenger side. So here what I have to do is obviously first remove the wheels, and then I went ahead and I removed these 3 Fender liner bolts, which are 12mm bolts. So it's 1, 2, and 3. I removed it and I got access to the 2 12mm bolts just behind it. These 2 bolts that I have to remove. One is the strut bolt, which is right here, and the other is the wheel hub bolt, which is right here. So both of the nuts use a 19mm socket, and I tried using impact gun, wrench, WD-40, nothing works. And these bolts are so rusted and almost welded together to each other. So the only solution I have is to heat them. For that, I have this hot rod. I got it off of Amazon. I'm going to put the link in the description if you guys are interested. And I use this one to also remove the nuts and bolts on the driver's side too. And I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So the way it works is you connect the plug, hold the red button here, which will activate the induction coil, and the bolt between the induction coil will be heated to red hot. And once it's red hot, you will hear some cracking sounds, which are the breaking sounds from rust. And as soon as it's red hot, just remove this thing, turn it off very carefully because it's really hot. Keep it away safely, and then you can go ahead and use your impact gun or your breaker bar. So that way, these bolts and nuts should come out easily. Alright, as you saw, the nut is now out, and using this heat induction coil, it was really easy for me to remove this nut. Otherwise, it was very, very difficult to remove it. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the other one and proceed to the next step. Alright, so in the back, what you have to do is you have the option to either remove this whole thing, and if you want, you can go ahead and remove the trim too, because all we want is access to this underneath here, because there are 3 bolts that releases the strut. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can just remove it from here. So I'm gonna take the main mat out of my way, just like this, and see if I can get my way out here. Just like this. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these. And to put this back, basically this is a hard cover. I just push it back and make sure I tuck it in the way I removed it. And I will probably end up using my trim tool
to just maneuver my way around. So these would be 14. You take your 14 and just remove them slowly. And after I'm done removing these, I can do exactly the same thing on the other end. And just like that, all the 3 bolts will be out. And you can just push it in. Alright, the suspension is done on the rear end and it looks absolutely phenomenal. If you remember, the front sides were approximately 24.5 inches from the ground. So let's go ahead and measure from the ground on this rear end. And as you can see, it's almost 24.5, a little shy from 24.5. And let's see on this end, on the passenger side, it's almost exactly the same height. So I'm happy with the results and the car looks absolutely phenomenal. This is the height from here, and as you can see, this is exactly where I want it to be. There is enough space that one finger can go easily. There is not going to be any kind of rubbing. And the same goes on the front side. The rear looks good as of now. If you can see from here, the fitment looks nice. It is not too tight and I think this is perfect. I literally have just 2 more days before the car show. And if I have time before the show, I'm going to go ahead and put the spacers. But time is very limited, so I'm going to go ahead and with the other stuff. Alright, I decided to increase the height from the back by 1/2 inch. The way to adjust your height would be very simple. You just have to loosen this lock nut first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is now loosened up. So if I want to increase the height, I'm going to rotate this lock nut, the one below. So what we need to do is first loosen up this one, the locking nut for adjusting the height. If you want to increase your height, we have to rotate this counterclockwise. And if you want to decrease your height, you want to rotate this clockwise so that you will see this black thread increasing or reducing depending on what you want to do. For example, right now, I want to increase the height by almost 1/2 inch. It helps to get a digital vernier caliper, or you can always use your measuring tape. So I'm going to go ahead and use my digital vernier caliper and measure out the distance I want to increase. So as you can see, just the same height reference, and this is exactly where we want it to be. So to increase the height, I have to rotate this counterclockwise. Just use your max speeding rod spanner as provided in your kit and increase it this way. Easy peasy. As you can see, this distance, the black thread after this lock nut would be increasing because we are rotating this counterclockwise and increasing its height. All right, as you can see, this is exactly where I want it to be. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and lock it up, and I'm going to repeat the same process on the other end. And to lock it, you just have to put this one as close as possible and use the max speeding rod spanners to tighten them up. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. This right now is sitting at 24.5 inches from the ground, which is exactly the same in the front. So now it is a uniform height and it should sit absolutely awesome. So this looks great now, and it was a good decision to raise the rear instead of lowering the front because I want to have functionality when I drive. I don't want to scrub and scrape stuff because I do intend to drive this car on a daily basis. So I want to keep the functionality as much as possible. And before I forget to mention, I set up the damping on the front as well as the rear at 20 clicks, which is an average between sport and comfort, because if I wanted comfort, I wouldn't choose coilovers, if you know what I mean. So if you remember, I replaced my sticky dash interior with this premium suede material. The dashboard looks like one piece. It also comes down with this trim right here. However, this is a piece that keeps bothering me because it doesn't look like one piece right now. So this is suede and this is not. Remove these plastic trims from here, so these plastic trims will just come out easily. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the rest of the trim right here with the same charcoal black suede material. So this is 20 centimeter by 150 centimeter length. That's gonna cover up right here as well as the other side right here. So that is the game plan. So let's get started with the plastic trim right here. All right, the installation should be fairly simple. So I'm just gonna unroll this one and measure an approximate length. And something to keep in mind is this product is very durable and it is also a stretch material. So I'm gonna take an approximate length right here. So you can cut exactly how much you need from here. The length is approximately 3 feet which is 36 inches. There you go. This is actually above 36 inches. I'm just gonna peel one section from here this way, and just be careful that you don't stick it to each other on the sticky end. Just gonna start pulling it up right from here. I'm just sticking it, and as you can see, this sticks right in to any surface. But if you make a mistake, it is just peelable this way. You will always have a second chance if you make a mistake. This way, I'm gonna peel it outwards. As you can see, this is the position where I can fold it inwards, and on the top, this is the position that is gonna go inside. And if you can see, I put the material behind the seat and behind the seat belt too, and with my finger I can feel where I need to fold it inwards. So I'm gonna put an excess layer of material on the top right there and pull the material from here. And once I start doing it, I'm just gonna roughly start tapping it in as I keep on moving forward this way. And I have absolutely no worries about screwing up, because if I make a mistake, I can just remove it and put it back. Now I have it roughly prepared and kept it in one end this way. All right, so using my trim tool, I went ahead and tucked the additional material in. So this is something really helpful, and I'm gonna put the link in the description that you can purchase it directly with this suede material. So use the trim tool and you'll be easily able to tuck the additional material in right here without making any mistakes. So now this is installed. As you can see, this looks absolutely perfect. So the dashboard looks phenomenal as it is. And now the trim is continued on to the end. Check out the fitment, it looks absolutely phenomenal. All right, the last piece of the puzzle is also put in on the driver's side, and this looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm actually glad that I made the decision to convert the dashboard and the interior to suede, and this extension of the suede interior looks absolutely phenomenal. And check out the contrast between the charcoal black suede and the beige here. I like it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All right, I have exactly 3 more days before the car show, and in today's episode, I have to paint the front bumper, paint the roof spoiler, and also paint match the rear ducktail spoiler. And about a year ago, I also did a rust repair on the passenger side fender here. So I'm also planning to put a fresh layer of coat on the passenger side fender in order to match it with the bumper here. So once I paint the bumper as well as this passenger side fender, it's gonna look like one piece. And after I'm done painting, I can go ahead and give it a final polish to get the car to a final shine. So the first step here would be to give the car a quick wipe from all the dust and debris. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mask off the areas I don't need to scuff around the headlight, the hood, and around the grille. And after that, I can start scuffing to prep it for primer. Alright, masking is done, and now I can go ahead and use my 1500 grit to give the car a quick scuff so that the primer can bond to the surface properly. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and wipe the car clean with some rubbing compound so that there is no huge debris. And after that, I can scuff the car gently this way so that the primer can bond strongly to the bumper. The next thing I have is the roof spoiler. So this roof spoiler is the RS type, and it goes directly on the roof, and this is an unpainted version. So I'm gonna go ahead and scuff the surface up and prime this up along with the car. So this is the Scratches Happen black primer, and the way it works is you have to shake it up for 1 to 3 minutes, and once you hear the shaking ball inside mixing it and forming some kind of dents here, that will be the indication that the mixing is going good, and then you can start spraying. So now I'm gonna go ahead and shake it for about 1 to 3 minutes and start spraying 3 medium primer coats. And as always, don't forget to put your face mask on and keep yourself protected. As you can see, these are the dents that formed under the bottom of this aerosol can, which means this is a good sign and the paint has mixed well. Now I can test the atomizer and see the output of this aerosol can. These test cards will also be provided to you in your Scratches Happen DIY paint kit. Alright, let's spray the first pass on top and go with another pass. As you can see, the atomizer is actually really good and the primer sprayed properly. So now I can proceed to spray the primer on the car. Alright, it is the next day and the primer has dried up properly, and the way to understand if the primer has dried or not is to touch the tape around it and to see if you have any residue or not. So this means the primer has completely dried up, and the same thing on the rear end. So the next step here would be to use my 1500 grit sandpaper and lightly sand down the whole primed area, and that is because the primer is actually a bit of a rough surface. So if I touch here, you can hear it. And I just need to lightly scuff it so that it becomes smooth. So I'm gonna go ahead and wear my safety mask and then start scuffing. Alright, scuffing is now done, and now it's time to clean the scuffed primer with some clean tack cloths. So for example, here is the scuffed area, and if I just wipe it off with a clean towel, you can see all the sanding dust is gonna be out. And this is an essential step before we start applying the base coat. And as you can see, it becomes very clean. And once it's all cleaned up, I'm gonna go ahead and apply 2 to 3 medium to heavy layers of base coat. Alright, scuffing is finally done, and now the primer is nicely scuffed and smoothened up. And this is the Toyota 212, which is specifically for the Lexus and Toyota models. This is an obsidian black model, and they've given a sample on the top here, which is exactly what I need for my car. So the same process, I'm gonna go ahead and shake this can for 1 to 3 minutes until I see some dents pop up here. And once I'm done shaking this aerosol can, I can go ahead and test this paint on a test card and see the output of the spray. And once I'm satisfied, I can go ahead and start putting 1 to 3 medium to heavy coats of base coat. And here's just a reminder that Scratches Happen provides you a very nice aerosol spray step-by-step instructions. I am able to execute a professional level of paint job using this instruction sheet from here. And the best thing about this is all the materials that you see here are provided in your complete kit. And Scratches Happen does a really good job at providing the summary of dry times. For example, here between the primer coats, I waited 30 minutes approximately, and that's because I read it on the instructions here. And after the primer, I waited for about another day and let it dry overnight. And here I am today. I'm gonna put the base coat, and I'm gonna wait for 10 to 20 minutes between each base coat so that the paint sits and cures properly. And after that, I'm gonna follow the instructions for the clear coat. And you can find this instruction sheet on the Scratches Happen website completely for free. Shaking the can is now completed, so now I'm gonna go ahead and test the paint on a test card. Make sure you have shaken this well, take your test card and apply the paint. As you can see, this atomizer is absolutely phenomenal. Now that I know that the Scratches Happen aerosol can works absolutely great, now I can go ahead and start painting. Alright, base coats are done, and check the quality of the paint. It looks absolutely phenomenal, and the way I can understand if the paint has completely dried or not is by touching the tape around it and checking if there is any residue. And according to this summary of dry times, I need to wait between 60 minutes to 24 hours before I can put down a few layers of clear coat. It's been almost 12 hours now, so now I can go ahead and use my Scratches Happen 1K clear coat. I really like this product, and I'm really confident on the outcome of this product. So as usual, I'm gonna go ahead and shake it for about 1 to 3 minutes, and after I see some visible dents at the bottom, I can go ahead and test my clear coat nozzle on a test card. There you go. You can technically see myself right there. I'm happy with the output of this clear coat, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the car. So here's the plan. The first layer of clear coat would be a light coat, and the second coat would be a medium coat, followed by a heavy coat at the third one. And after I'm done with my third final coat, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the masking tape around very carefully, and that is because you don't want the clear coat to dry off on the masking tape. Otherwise, when you peel the masking tape, it's probably gonna peel the clear coat too. So it's always better to peel the masking tape off when the clear coat is wet. Check this out. I am super happy with the results and the paint match is absolutely on point. The car will look phenomenal once I polish the newly painted parts. Scratches Happen did an outstanding job with the paint mix and all the paint supplies. I'm going to put the link in the description, and if you're interested in doing a DIY paint job at home, don't forget to use my code BillFixCars. The obsidian black paint mix came out perfectly, and the whole bumper kit will come together once I install the lip kit in the next episode. Alright, the next thing on the agenda is to get some bumper lips. So the rear bumper gets some nice lips underneath, some side skirts under the door, and some front lips. So these can go to any car. It is not specifically made for the Lexus IS-250 or the 350. So I'm gonna go ahead and open them up and see how it looks. Alright, so let's go ahead and open these up. It should be an easy fix. Let's check out the quality. These should be ABS plastic and not the PETG plastic. And it should go right under here, somewhere like this. I really like how it makes the bumper look like one piece, and I don't even have to paint it because it's already in a gloss black color. This is a universal lip, so you don't have to worry about fitment. It should fit almost every car. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit this and install this with the screws provided inside the box, and it should be an easy one. Alright, check this out. I really like how it looks on the back, and I put screws underneath, as you can see right here. And now this is nice and steady. And the same thing on the other end, on this side. It looks like a complete one piece. And check out the results from further away. It really makes the rear end very, very aggressive. I really like how the bumper lip came up, and I'm happy with the result. So now I can move on to the side skirt. Alright, the rear lip is now done. So these are the side skirts. Basically, I have to connect them to each other on every side. Comes with their own screws, and we are supposed to connect them to each other. So this is the end of one side. As you can see, the quality is really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the others that connects to this. There we go. This is another piece. It just basically slides in like that. And underneath the car, I'm gonna go ahead and screw right here so that this stays firm together. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit this under the car and find out the position I need to fit it under the car and start drilling the holes for the screws. And it looks like the length is a bit longer on the front, so this needs to be cut. As you can see, if I put it here, this is exactly under the car, and in the front it goes out this way, and I need to cut some length from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and first mark some length here underneath exactly this location, just with the tape. And once I start fitting this, I'm gonna go ahead and start making a cut. Alright, the side skirts look good and it matches exactly with the lip on the rear bumper. And the way I install it is basically I lined it up with the side skirt. I had to trim in the front, which I'll show you in a second. And here are the screws, as you can see, just at the bottom here. And something to note is there's this mud flap right here, which came in the way. So this was the part right there. For example, it was like this, so I have to cut it up and basically remove the plastic clip, and that shouldn't be an issue. There is another clip right here, and there is also a 10mm bolt inside right there, so that shouldn't be an issue. This is very stiff right now. I have two screws on each side and going along the way. As you can see, this is a very subtle joint from here. I'm gonna go ahead and put some silicone underneath this and press it so that the silicone can hold this. And when we go forward, as you can see, here is where I trimmed it off. Basically, I took my knife and trimmed it off from here. Here is the extra part. So now I can go ahead and do the same thing on the passenger side, and then I can move on to the front. Alright, the side skirts are also installed in the passenger side, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Check out the fitment, it looks so natural. And can you believe this side skirt is actually universal and can go on any car, and that's why they provide you with the extra length so you can adjust to your car's length. I have the car already lifted on jack on this end. I'm gonna go ahead and do that on the driver's side too, and then we're gonna fix a new lip in the front here. Again, these are also universal, so you can go ahead and install it for any car that you want. It should look something like this, which is exactly what I wanted. I want some adjustability, and this fin right here will be going on this end, and the same thing on the other side, as well as I can put the front however I want to adjust it, and that way I'm gonna have a full front lip. Alright, I went ahead and put these side splitters for the passenger side right here, as you can see. the screws are in from underneath, and I took the exact measurement from here. So this is the exact measurement all the way until here, so that the side of the bumper is parallel to the wing here, and that way I was able to put a screw in directly here. And exactly the same thing on the driver's side. The same measurement was also taken here, and this is exactly the same measurement that comes here, the same width, parallel to the bumper. And then I was able to put another screw underneath that, and now I have the centerpiece, and this is currently held by a stool. And basically what I need to do is I need to find my center, which is towards the pointy side, and I'm gonna find out the exact place where I need to go ahead and put some screw in. So once I fixate one side, I can then go in and measure the same thing on the other end and start putting screws underneath this section right here. So basically from down below. Check this out. It actually looks so good. I can't believe this is a universal lip kit. So the front lip, the side skirt, as well as the rear bumper lip, all of them are actually universal and it fits any car. I'm gonna put the link in the description if you guys are interested. Definitely do check it out. I'm really happy with the results. The front lip looks absolutely phenomenal. This is so much more aggressive than the original OEM bumper. I can't believe I actually went from this bumper right here to this 2024 IS-500 look. I'm gonna put all the links in the description. If you guys are interested, do check it out and let me know what the car turned out to be. I personally think the car looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm super happy with the results. The only thing remaining right now is to clean up the car and give the car a nice polish, and after that the car will be completed. And look how aggressive the car looks right now. Check the rear end, it is super aggressive. And once I'm done polishing the car, I'm gonna go ahead and put the Lexus logo, and after that it will be ready to roll. And finally, I only have one more step remaining, which is scuffing the newly painted surface, which is the passenger side fender as well as the whole front bumper. I'm gonna go ahead and start masking the surrounding areas, so I can go ahead and scuff them with 1000 grit sandpaper and then 1500 followed by 2000 grit sandpaper to get a smooth finish. And then I can go ahead and start polishing with a Meguiar's 105 and followed by a Meguiar's 205. The fender is completely polished, and as you can see, the shine is absolutely phenomenal, and I can see myself on the fender. That's exactly what I wanted. Technically now the fender looks newer than the other body panels, so I'm going to go ahead and also polish up the hood and the surrounding areas, as well as do a one-stage polish for the whole car. Alright, check this out. I only did one stage polish, which is why you can still see swirl marks. But the fender looks amazing, and the hood is also half polished. And this side is not polished yet, so this is what it used to look like before. You can obviously see myself on the hood right now, and before you couldn't see very much. So that is the difference right now. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the whole hood as well as the driver's side fender. And after that, I still have some work remaining. I have to put the roof spoiler. So I'm going to go ahead and put that after I finish the polishing. Alright, the car is now polished and clean and looks absolutely phenomenal. The front end is completely done and I can see myself on the car now. So that's good, and the new fender paint is also shiny. Meanwhile, I also went ahead and installed the roof spoiler and it looks good. And I just stuck it with double-sided 3M tape as well as seal it with some silicone right here. I'm going to seal it with silicone on the rest of the sides at some point later after the car show. This car brought me a lot of great conversations. The total timeline of this build was just around 3.5 weeks, and all the newly converted lights look stunning, and the diffusers along with the lip kits definitely makes the car look more aggressive. The ride height is also perfect, and honestly, the coilovers are absolutely phenomenal. So far, I'm really happy with these coilovers for the Lexus IS with adjustable dampers. Check out how the car looks whole and complete just by lowering the car. All the body kits and the interior as well as the screen is from Mighty Tech Store, and this has been by far one of my best builds. Alright, now to solve the wheel offset problem. So I'm gonna try the wheel spacers in the front end first and see if I want to have it on the front as well as on the back, or just the rear wheel. So today for the wheel spacers, I'm gonna try this 20mm wheel spacers, and I'm gonna put a link in the description for these spacers if you guys are interested. So there is a nice installation guide right here, and these should fit this size here. So I'm gonna go ahead and install these on the front passenger side hub. Then I'll put the wheel and put the car down just to see what the offset looks like. The nice thing about these wheel spacers is that these are the hub centric ones, which means there should be no wheel imbalance or anything like that if you install these spacers. So it should go directly on top. As you can see, there is some maneuver space right here which should disappear once you take these nuts from here and tighten this up on the original screws. Alright, the wheel spacer is now installed on the front end, and as you can see, the wheel sits exactly at the wheel arch, and the only problem I can see is the clearance. For example, on the driver's side, I still haven't installed the wheel spacer yet, and as you can see, it sits very nice height wise, and there's enough clearance here that I can move my whole hand around this way, and as you can see, there's good ground clearance. But if I want to have this ground clearance on the other side, as you can see, because the wheels are now outwards 20mm, I don't really have enough ground clearance, and I can't even move my hands freely, which means I don't have enough ground clearance. If there is a speed bump or there is a pothole, it is definitely gonna hit my fender or the inner fender liner, and that is not what I'm looking for. Although it looks very nice and sleek on this end, I'm just gonna remove the wheel spacer from the front wheels and just try it out on the rear ones. Check this out. The rear wheel spacers are now installed, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Check out the width it shows right now from the rear end, and on the front, I am happy with the OEM offset, so I am not going to install any front wheel spacers. And for clearance, as you can see, my hands can move freely, which is exactly what I needed. And as you can see from the wheel arch right here, it goes straight onto the wheel right here, which is exactly what I was looking for in terms of appearance. And now I can go ahead and install the same right here. This is what it used to look like before with all this wheel gap, and this is what it looks like right now. I went ahead and also installed the wheel spacer on the rear end, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Alright, the fitment looks absolutely perfect, but the only problem I encountered is that on the wheel arch here, if you can see, this OEM wheel arch has a kind of a straight bracket here that might just scrub with the wheel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fender roller to kind of roll this sheet of metal right here, this straight sheet, and bend it inwards so that when the wheels go in and out, it will not touch the straight flap that is in here. The flange will be bent inwards and the wheels can easily go in and out. I got myself this nice fender roller tool. Alright, so what I did is I had to jack up my car on one side as well as also jack up my car on the other side as well, and that is because this car is a rear wheel drive, and because of the differentials I am now able to rotate the rear wheels freely. As you can see, if this rotates forward, the other side should rotate the opposite. So now I should be able to remove this wheel and put the fender roller to start rolling. We will start shifting the angles in a way that the fender keeps getting rolled inwards until we are satisfied.
Alright, rolling the fender is now completed. As you can see here, this is now a very thin fender line that is here because the flange that was here is now folded in. And the reason why you see this bare metal surface here is because the bare metal surface here was actually covered with this silicone right here, which was then painted over. As you can see, this is the silicone piece right here, so that was broken from here. Because I used the heat gun, it kind of melted the adhesion between the silicone and the bare metal. So before I put in the wheel here, I'm going to go ahead and spray some sandable primer here so that there is no question about rusting or corrosion of any kind. And after spraying the sandable primer, I will be able to remove this and put in the wheel and continue rolling the fender on the other end. Alright, I just went ahead and put this sandable primer in, and as you can see, the inside of the fender is now completely covered with sandable primer. Ideally, I should not have any concerns about corrosion or rusting of any kind. So now I can finally install the wheel back and see what kind of clearance I can get as compared to before. You can also go ahead and use these rings, which will be usually provided here, and use them to bolt on your OEM lug nuts in order to securely tighten the fender roller with the wheel hub. So if you feel necessary, you can go ahead and use them. Alright, the passenger side is also now done, and check the fitment out. It looks completely awesome. I also went ahead and sprayed some sandable primer so that there is no corrosion or rusting of any kind. And the wheel spacer should have absolutely no problem right now on the rear end. And as you can see, the wheel is completely flush because of the 20mm wheel spacers that is right there. And there should be no scrubbing. As you can see, I can freely move my fingers around, and there is plenty of space here for the car to go up and down. The fitment looks absolutely phenomenal. I am super happy with the results, and rolling the fenders was actually a necessary thing to do here in order to successfully run my wheels on the car with the wheel spacers installed in them. Alright guys, here are some before and after images. These 20mm wheel spacers definitely added some character to the car, and now I can happily say I have completed this build. Alright guys, now it's time to go for a test drive, and let's see how the car performs in bumpy roads, turns, and during acceleration. As you can see, the damping is doing its job, and remember, it was set at 20 clicks in street settings, and I'm very impressed with the car's response on this uneven road. Sudden maneuvers are also good, with all the sides of the car at a steady level, keeping the handling very dynamic. Let me know what you guys think of this 2007 Lexus IS build, and thank you all for supporting me on this entire build. I do have some very interesting projects lined up for the upcoming episodes, and I'm sure you will not want to miss them. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you on the next one.